let's talk about that last statement. So it's really easy to bemoan your circumstances, especially if you're a weirdo like me. The reason that I say that is because that is how the majority would see me. This is that yogurt. This is that yogurt from earlier. It hasn't been sitting out all day, I promise. It's been refrigerated, okay? But in the last video, I was talking about how gratitude frees you. It does. It really does. Because all this stuff that you're fixated on in regards to, like, you know, not being enough, not having enough, not being where you want in life. Like, if you can just stop and look around and just be grateful for whatever you have in that moment, you'll realize that you don't need shit. And God will take care of you. If you keep this mindset. So, if you suffer for righteousness' sake, people don't understand that. They don't understand how much of a virtue that is to be able to, like, just put up with a lot and take a lot. And that doesn't necessarily mean to, like, be a doormat and allow yourself to be mistreated by shitty people, okay? I'm not even remotely suggesting, you know, letting people off the hook or whatever. But what I'm saying is that you will experience mistreatment. You will experience people, like, misunderstanding you and lying about you. And I have experienced that all my life. I'm not trying to humble brag or nothing, but, you know, it's been a significant part of my experience. Because most people aren't honest. Most people want approval of the world. And they'll do whatever they possibly can to get it. And so, I've taken a lot of risks. You know, doing comedy, I've taken a lot of risks. You know, just all the stuff I've done on this channel. It's like, yeah, a lot of people have, you know, misunderstood it or misrepresented it or whatever. And, you know, I'm not, like, popular or anything. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be. I mean, people can say, like, no, your message is really important. Honey, most people are fucking pathetic. They'll never listen to something that challenges them. Okay, I know that. I know that about society. You don't understand that about society. I do. Okay? Because that's just the way that people are. Like, naturally. I think that people would resist change if changing required them to be uncomfortable for too long a time. You know? It's just easier to stay the same. It's easier to stay the same and keep complaining about the same shit than it is to be uncomfortable and force yourself to grow up. You know? I get it. I mean, I do without my own way. But it's just, I'm like fully aware of all these things that I'm experiencing. I've never known what it's like to not be conscious of my experience. That's why I love the fuck out of booze. Because booze just knocked my ass out, you know? And sometimes I miss being blacked out drunk. But it's like, I really can't imagine, nor do I want to live a life where like I'm not conscious of it. But I'm realizing more and more that that is the way that most people live, dude. I mean, why do you think so many people would continue to do stuff that doesn't work? And it's like, I've realized that, you know, either they're just not conscious of their experience, or they're like not acknowledging that things are connected, you know? Like, say you take something that you're told to take. You know, say that something is a pharmaceutical, and you take it, and you're told to take it by experts. You're told to take it by doctors. You're told to take it by people wearing lab coats that seem like they know what they're talking about, okay? And say you experience really adverse side effects from this thing that you're told to take. But immediately after you take it, you kind of like push it out of your mind. That you're not really like concerned that it could be harmful at all because you trust those people that told you to take it. Well, if you experience side effects from it, you're probably not going to connect those dots, you know? And that's just the way that people are. Like, they would rather not challenge the world that they live in. Like, that's a lot harder for them. Because then it's like, well, if these people are lying, who else is lying? And I understand that, you know, the reluctance of, you know, going down that rabbit hole or whatever the fuck, you know, like why would anybody in their right mind want to do that? So I guess you really do have to be schizophrenic. But yeah, those of us that are willing to like challenge that status quo in an unconventional way, because so many people, they think that in order to live a life that matters, you have to like write books about so-called conspiracies and, you know, do podcasts and shit like that. So be a conventional person. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if you're a so-called conspiracy theorist, why are you doing things the same way that everybody else is doing them, thinking that that's gonna, like, challenge anything, you know? It makes more sense to be on the outskirts, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm a fucking coward because I don't want to go on Twitter and ruin my life. But, I mean, I look at it differently than most people. Because I just have standards, and like there's just a lot of stuff that a lot of people do that does not meet my standards, and so, you know, I would rather, you know, live my life in a way that I don't have to like constantly rationalize and be like, oh well, I'm doing this because I want to be successful, you know, like that's so weird, but I don't know. I think it's really important, though, to be grateful for, like, yeah, whatever you have in the moment, but also, for the past. Be grateful for things that happened that weren't so good because they taught you, you know? But like I said, a lot of people are not conscious. And because they have technology that is totally discouraging consciousness. That's why there are so many people on TikTok and Twitter and YouTube that are like putting out all this content about consciousness, So there are different things that people are bragging about in relation to consciousness. Like they're super conscious of the Jewish media and how it's running everything, or they're super conscious of how much the medical industry has like corrupted our humanity, or they're super conscious of the education system and how much it's brainwashing everybody, or they're super conscious of the fucking water supply and all the estrogen, It's like, yeah, it's good to be conscious of these things, and it's good to raise awareness of this stuff, but it's also really like detrimental to your health to constantly be obsessing about these things. And I don't know, I was totally living in, conspiracy land. I mean, I do. Like, this is my zip code, honey. Like, I've been residing here for a long-ass time. So it's interesting that the population is getting larger and larger, like, the more corrupt this world becomes. But I guess that's a good thing, but I don't really think it is a good thing. Because y'all aren't schizophrenic. You don't know, like, how to handle that shit. And I think more and more people are going to commit suicide. And not just because of antidepressants. Okay, so you're going to have all those people, but you're also going to have people that commit suicide because, they don't want to get killed off by some, outsider or whatever. You're going to see, like, Jonestown, Jonestown activities. And I mean, that's pretty messed up, but it's like, what the fuck do you expect when people feel so limited in their ability to do anything? And they have literally retarded themselves using the type of technology that they've been using for almost 20 years now. So, like, people have gotten so accustomed to just staring at a screen, and it's totally, like, depleted them of their ability to, like, think outside the box, because all they do is stare at boxes. Like, that is it, dude. Like, America is just one box after another, and that's why I could never understand how people could be like, this is the freest place in the world. I'm like, well, if that's the case, then why are the people here so fucking dumb? And, like, just, they're boring. Don't you think that if it were more free, like, people would be, like, less boring? I guess that's just not true. So what if, like, communism, like, completely takes over and, like, people are interesting again? That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Oh no, I'm trying to look at the upside here. Because that's another thing. People just want to be really fucking negative, and they want to say things like, we're so cooked. We're so cooked. That's interesting that you use that vernacular. Well, considering, the 5G towers that are literally turning this entire country into, like, a giant microwave, but nobody's complaining about that. But they use certain terms that indicate that they know what's going on, but they don't really know what's going on because they don't actually care about stuff like that. So stuff that would negatively impact their habits, they're not going to think anything about that. That's a little too schizo for them, you know? But they'll talk all day about Donald Trump and that bitch that's running for president. I find it funny that she had like the lowest approval rating during the Democratic primaries. I don't think that people remember that. Most definitely not. Yeah, nobody liked that bitch. And now they're all pretending that they love the fuck out of her. Like, these people are so easy to brainwash. Like, everybody in this country is so easily duped. And it does not matter what side they're on. They're all equally retarded. Because they just want something to fester about. They want something to either have false hope in, or they want something to vilify. But they are the biggest threat to their own freedom. You know, because they're in control of their habits. And so if you can't control your habits, and your habits are like directly involved in like all of these manipulation tactics that you're not even aware of, okay? Then it's like, what hope does anybody really have? I mean, that's why I trust God so much. And like, this isn't about the rapture. This isn't about, you know, any of the stuff that a lot of people are talking about. I just trust God. Like, that's it, dude. Like, I'm not gonna like get into the semantics and try to figure out what's gonna happen and how they're gonna do it, and you know, Revelations here, Isaiah there, you know, like, I'm just fucking sick of obsessing about things, you know, and I realize that, like, it can be somewhat harmful to read the Bible if you don't have discernment, because then you think that certain things are happening and it has to apply to this one piece of the scripture, and, you know, well... For your information, the people that run the world are reading the same Bible. Well, they might be reading a slightly different Bible, but I mean, they've changed the Bible so many times that it's like, it's really hard to keep track. But like, yeah, they're reading the Bible and they're all competing. It's like they're having this giant contest to bring about the end of the world, you know? It's like the processed church all over again. I think I've mentioned this before. But, yeah, that's why I stress that gratitude is the answer. Because gratitude will keep you in this positive mindset. And if you're in this positive mindset, you're going to do the will of God. And you won't worry about all this shit that's happening. And it's like debris will be falling everywhere, and you'll just dust that shit off, you know? Like, you won't even be the slightest bit concerned about it because, you know, you've got the armor of God, you know? And people can laugh about that all they want, but I think that like, they're jealous of that security, you know? Because that's the security that I've had since I was young. And it doesn't have anything to do with religion. It's just that I feel like Jesus is the closest thing to the truth based off of his teachings. Not necessarily because of his life or anything, but because of the things that he taught. That's what I am focusing on. I think that our government has proven that they can change history on a whim. So, when people talk about the Bible and like the history of it and all that shit, I'm like, dude, they can just tamper with that whenever they want. Just like they do with science, Think about like this. The DSM. This is the Diagnostic Manual of Psychiatric Disorders. The first one came out in, I believe, 1952. This is like the 5th version that they have. So they keep adding stuff and subtracting stuff. Homosexuality used to be in the DSM, and then they removed that. Probably for political purposes, but let's not go on a tangent. But yeah, if they can do that, and they can just come up with disorders and say, oh, well, actually, this thing that we've been saying that's not what it is, it's this other thing. Just like fucking Pluto. Remember Pluto? They were like, no, it's a planet. No, it's not a planet. Yes, it is a planet. It's like, they can just say whatever they want. And then take it back, and then say it again, and take it back. It's like everybody's a woman now. Like, nobody can make up their fucking mind on anything. And it makes sense, too, like, why they push the trans stuff. Because, like, that's what that is, too. Aside from the fact that, like, anybody that's legit trans, like, it's a pretty consistent experience. It's not, like, TikTok trans. It's, like... a very, very tiny portion of the population that is actually that way. But they legit feel like they were born in the wrong body. And it, like, if they took an MRI, scan of their brain, it would prove that they're right in their self-assessment. So people like that have had to be self-aware. That's what's kind of cool about mental illness, is that, like, if you study yourself, like, it forces you to study yourself. Because you have no choice. I mean, nobody else is going to understand you. Nobody else is going to... I mean, it's nobody else's responsibility anyway, but, they're not going to understand you. They're not going to accept you. So it just makes way more sense to figure out what you've got and, try to deal with it the best way that you can. And so, I've done a lot of therapy and all that. And I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky. That I took the time to study my mind and figure it out. When in doubt, ask a question. It won't hurt anyone except authority. But there's the glory. There's the glory. always get filled. My cup runneth over. And only the ones that are part of the special club, and no, not that one, okay? I feel like I'm in the VIP section, 'cause I know that I could just go to confession. If I feel like shit, I know what to do about it, and I don't have to stress anywhere near as much. And I know why they'd consider that to be a cope. Yeah, I know why it sounds the way that it does. 'Cause I can take myself out, pretend I don't have this perspective. I can take myself out, 'cause understanding is my objective. And it doesn't offend me that you don't believe what I believe. It doesn't offend me that you don't want what I want. Nor do you desire to achieve what I'll achieve. Just say I'm being deceived. No. I used to walk to and from the government school, and I talked to God the whole way. Nobody told me to do that. Nobody taught me what I could say. 'Cause you can say anything, yeah, you can say anything. 'Cause he can take everything, he wants everything. And I wish I could give this away, but if you don't earn it yourself, it won't mean anything. So, people ask me, how did I get here? I just say, I talked to God like he was right there, because he always is. He's inside of us, and he's around us, he's surrounding us all the time, everywhere. There's nowhere where we could go where he wouldn't be there. Even in the Church of Satan, believe it or not. And Tom LaVey was most definitely working for people. But, I guess it's a feeling that I've always been trusting. And I'm a woman, so you can just blame it on that or something. It's like any aspect of your identity, people will use it against you, you know? Why do you think I call myself a freak?